If there's one thing I love more than anything else in the world, it's motorcycle news. No, I'm just kidding, Dave. Obviously, I love you the most. No, I'm just kidding there as well. Obviously. Acting. The 2020 the Dakar Rally, even though it has nothing to do with Dakar anymore, has been underway for about 3 days now for those of you not following along. Briefly moved to South America, for 2020 however, the rally finds itself back in the blistering dunes, this time no longer in Africa, but in Saudi Arabia. A few rule changes which were made last year surely are going to stir things up a little, so stick around while we see what's what. Well, the biggest change so far is the actual location. The race was originally held in Dakar, which is a city in Senegal in North Africa. After safety concerns back in 2008, the race was actually cancelled that year and later on was moved to South America. Now, riding in South America was definitely different than riding in the deserts of Africa. In the desert, you start feeling the true nature of loneliness, even if you are part of the largest rally on the planet. Endless hours without seeing anyone, the landscape barely changing, that solitude was definitely part of the Dakar experience and it would take its toll on riders. In South America, however, you had technical portions, green lush vegetation and people wandering around almost every corner of the track, snapping photos of you on their smartphones. So the element of being on a strange planet definitely evaporated for a lot of riders. This year, however, it's back to the dunes, so it will be a Dakar a lot close to what we are used to. The organizers also wanted a more level playing field, so one of the first changes they did was to no longer hand out road books the night before. Traditionally, riders would receive these road books and immediately start marking them with their own easy to understand icons so that the next day they would be completely prepared. The problem with this is that with our current consumer technology, it would be very easy to plot that entire route into Google Earth and do a flyby of the entire thing while also looking for ways to bypass difficult obstacles without actually bypassing any of the waypoints. And the reality is that a lot of participants would do this, and in my own book this is cheating, not overly preparedness. So from this year the organizers will not be handing out roadbooks the night before, but rather pre-marked roadbooks the morning of the actual stage. This completely levels the playing field as now everyone will be navigating from the same notes. It is a huge risk, however, for the top riders since they rely heavily on their own notes, so if there is a mistake anywhere in the roadbook, the risk of injury is a lot higher. But all in all, this is a very welcome change. The next bigger change should make this year's race feel a lot more like a marathon, because the Dakar Rally is really big news in Europe. For years now, there was great pressure on the organizers to have the stage results ready by primetime news in Europe. And since Peru was many hours behind Europe, the stages would usually be completed by midday. Saudi Arabia, however, is around 3 or more hours ahead of Europe, so there is no reason for the stages to not run well into the evening and still make primetime news in Europe. Another welcome change which should make things a lot more interesting. Now, as of shooting this video, a few stages have already been completed. Toby Price took the lead and won the first stage on his KTM. Then stage 2 was won by another KTM rider, Ross Branch, a private entry to the Dakar, which then proceeded to crash and injure his shoulder the very next day. So, exciting riding so far, everyone seems to be acclimating to the new location and the new rules of the rally. I'm very curious to find out if our friends from across the pond are as eager to watch the Dakar as we are here in Europe. So, if you enjoy it, why don't you pop over to the comments and let us know where you're from. Well, that's the show for today, everyone. If you've enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up, and if you think you've learned something new, consider subscribing or becoming a Patreon to help us make more of these shows. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one. Done! The first show of 2020. Blah. Blah.